In an African village blessed with endless harvest, greed awakens something ancient beneath the river. When the drums of the dead begin to thunder, only an orphan girl with nothing but a calabash bowl dares to face the curse. What she uncovers will decide if her people live, or if the land itself dies. Abeni and the River of Judgment Part 2. Night had folded itself over the village. The fires from the day's celebration burned low, leaving only embers glowing red in the dark. Crickets called from the grass, and somewhere in the distance, a hyena laughed at its own joke. Inside a compound near the edge of the village, 3 elders sat in the shadow of a granary. Their faces were lined by age, their words sharpened by years of pride. They had eaten well that day, yet their hearts were restless. Elder one leaned forward, his knees cracking like dry sticks. "The chief speaks of giving our best," he muttered. "But tell me, why should I part with my fattest goat? Do I owe the ancestors more than I owe my own sons?" His voice was low, but his eyes glittered. "I will offer the smallest, the one already near death. The fat one will stay tied in the far pen. Let the others waste their wealth if they wish." Elder 2 chuckled, a humorless sound. He lifted a gourd of palm wine, shook it, and listened to the liquid slosh. "My wine is too sweet, too strong," he said. "Why should I pour it at the feet of stone? I will add water, 2 gourds of water for 1 of wine. The people will not taste the difference in the dark. And the ancestors?" He shrugged. "The ancestors are far away." Elder 3 shifted uneasily but did not disagree. His compound was known for its yam harvest, the largest in the village. He rubbed his palms together and whispered, "I will keep my heaviest yams under a pile of leaves. Only the smallest will go to the offering ground. The eyes of men cannot see through leaves, and the ancestors will take whatever is placed before them." For a moment, silence hung among them, broken only by the crackle of insects in the grass. Then Elder One gave a sly smile. "We are wise men. Others will empty their stores, but we will feast again after the feast is done." The 3 old men laughed softly. Their laughter did not carry far, but it was sharp enough to cut through the night. Above them, the stars shone with cold indifference. Across the village, Abeni lay on her mat with her calabash at her side. She could not hear the elders plotting, but her sleep was restless. She dreamed of water rising high, of shadows moving beneath the current, of a drumbeat she could almost feel in her chest. She woke before dawn, breath quick and shallow, but the village was silent. Only the river moved, whispering secrets to the reeds. The feast would begin in 2 days, and already the first lies had been sown. The day of the feast rose bright and hot. Smoke from cooking fires curled into the sky until the whole village seemed wrapped in a shawl of scent and sound. Drummers gathered beneath the iroko tree, their hands striking taut skins with a rhythm that pulled people from their compounds. The air throbbed with song. Women's voices rose high and clear. Men's voices answered in deep waves, and children clapped and stamped their feet until the dust itself danced. Goats bleated in their pens, waiting to be led to the fire. Yams were peeled and roasted until their skins cracked open, releasing steam sweet as honey. Pots of stew bubbled, spitting red oil into the air. Palm wine poured like flowing laughter, its sweetness thick on the tongue. Everywhere there was music, everywhere there was food, everywhere there was joy. Families came in procession to the offering ground, each carrying what they had promised. They moved with pride, singing the names of their ancestors. One by one they placed baskets, gourds, and bowls before the sacred stone, bowing low before returning to join the feast. And then came Abeni. She walked alone, her torn dress brushing her thin legs, her small calabash clutched tight against her chest. The laughter of children followed her like buzzing flies. "Calabash girl," some whispered. "Look, she brings only water," others mocked. But Abeni did not falter. She stepped forward and placed the calabash before the stone. The water within caught the light of the sun and shimmered as though it had swallowed the sky itself. She bowed her head and whispered, "For those who carried us before we could walk, for those who speak when we are silent, I give what I have. May it be enough." Some of the villagers scoffed. Elder 2 shook his head in disgust. Elder 3 muttered beneath his breath. But among the crowd, one old grandmother with bent back and clouded eyes nodded slowly, as if she saw something others could not. The chief rose from his seat beneath the canopy, lifting his staff. His voice thundered across the feast. "Let the ancestors eat, and let the people rejoice. Tonight we honor those who came before us. Tonight we dance, we feast, and we drink in their blessing." The crowd erupted. Drums rolled like thunder, horns blared, and the people surged forward into the celebration. Dancers spun, their feet beating the dust into clouds. Men leapt and stamped with wild energy. Women shook their wrappers, beads clattering at their waists. Children screamed with laughter as they darted between the dancers. The sun fell, and torches rose, throwing firelight across painted faces and sweating skin. The feast became louder, faster, hotter, a river of sound and movement with no end. The people were drunk with food, with wine, with joy. Yet in the shadows the offerings lay quiet before the stone. The thin goat of Elder 1, tethered with fraying rope. The watered wine of Elder 2, weak in its gourd. The pile of small, withered yams of Elder 3. They sat among true gifts, but they did not belong. And though no one heard it over the roar of drums and the shouts of dancers, the river did not stay silent. Beneath its surface the current stirred. Far below, the ancient drum rolled once in its sleep, a single note that trembled through the deep. Boom! The feast roared into the night. Torches lit the air like a crown of fire above the village. Drums beat so fast that dancers staggered with exhaustion but still refused to stop. The chief, seated proudly beneath the canopy, raised his staff with each thunder of the rhythm, urging the drummers on. But then, when the air seemed ready to break from the weight of music and laughter, the rhythm faltered. One drummer's hand slowed, another froze, staring at his skin as if the leather had turned cold beneath his palms. The dancer stumbled. The singers' voices cracked, and into that silence, it came. Boom. The sound was deeper than any drum made by men. It rolled through the ground, making clay pots tremble and spilling wine from shallow bowls. Boom. Boom. Goats bleated and tried to pull free from their ropes. Dogs howled and ran in frantic circles. Babies began to wail, their cries cutting through the heavy night. Boom. 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 The sound rose from the river, vast and patient, each beat slow as the turning of the earth. The water itself shuddered, sending ripples racing to the banks. Fish leapt clear of the surface, their scales flashing silver before falling still. The moon, full and bright, burned red as though dipped in blood. Panic tore through the feast. Men dropped their cups and stumbled back. Women clutched their children, eyes wide with terror. The chief's staff slipped from his hand, clattering against the stone at his feet. Then the river spoke. Its voice was thunder broken into words, shaking every rib and every roof. You hide your goats, you water your wine, you cover your yams and leaves, you feed your mouths but starve your hearts, you take from the ancestors and give them nothing in return. For this I awaken. The ground cracked. Dust lifted into the air and spun like spirits freed from the earth. Flames from the torches bent sideways, whipped by an unseen wind. The sacred stone itself shook, and the offerings upon it toppled, gourds breaking, meat scattering into the dust. People fell to their knees, wailing. "Mercy!" they cried. "Mercy, River Mother!" But the voice of the river was not soft. Your rains will vanish, your soil will harden, your children will cry for food, and the earth will answer with silence. As the last word thundered across the night, the river rose in a great wave and crashed against the bank, drenching those nearest in its cold fury. Then it fell still again, quiet but for the echo of the drum beats fading into the distance. The feast was over. The people crouched in silence, their joy shattered, their fear as heavy as iron. Only the red moon remained above them, a watching eye that promised nothing but judgment. The morning after the feast, the sky rose pale and hard, without a single cloud. The sun burned fiercely, yet no wind stirred to soften its heat. The fields that had once been green seemed already dulled, as though some hidden hand had brushed the color from them overnight. On the first day, the yam leaves sagged in the fields. Their broad faces drooped like tired men, and their veins turned brittle. Millet stalks rattled when the wind touched them, as though their strength had been sucked away in an instant. The villagers shook their heads in disbelief, but still they hoped the change was only a passing shadow. If you enjoy the story and you want part 3, don't forget to like and subscribe. It will help the channel's growth.